Good evening. Welcome to National Sawdust. This is The Fire This Time. We are broadcasting from the occupied and unceded territory of the Canarsie and Munsee Lenape people who have stewarded this land for generations. Please join us in acknowledging the Canarsie and Munsee Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. National Sawdust also acknowledges our country was founded on exclusions and erasures of many Indigenous and enslaved peoples. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism and genocide. My name is Lynne Procope. Welcome again to The Fire This Time. And our guest this evening is the incomparable Jessica Care Moore. But first, we want to share with you a gorgeous video, a collaboration that Jessica Care Moore has done with Camden choreographer Jonesy D, based in the UK. And this is Our Bodies Back.
If black women could be cut down, no, removed gently from American terrorism, who would break our fall? Which direction will we travel to feel safe? Wild is the wind. If we could turn in this skin, these sharpened bones, this brain full of power and history, who would we resemble? Invisible doesn't come in black. How many nervous breakdowns? How many funeral black dresses? How many fibroids? How many nooses? How many of our bodies must be raped, cut into pieces, thrown inside garbage bags, buried? How many of us blossom a beautiful tree of life and pray their pride isn't cut down the middle, reduced to trunks, where a close friend doesn't die, climbing their limbs, attempting to simply grow outside this gritty soil they were planted? I put a spell on you. Holly Hobby ovens, Girl Scout cookies, and Barbie dolls. Don't prepare our revolutionary daughters born with capes and wings to have a pig's knee pushed into their backs. Girls raised by wolves, taught to disappear, to be quiet, to not talk about it. How much black breath is allowed space in the state of Texas, a place that has sucked the life out of countless, miscounted, uncounted, brown, poor women die here. I got life. Sandra Bland got the death penalty for a traffic stop. Her body was 28 years young. How to make sense of our bodies. Bodies killed by cigarettes. Bodies smoked out their own neighborhoods. Bodies with abandoned lungs and hearts. Bodies mistaken for women when they are still girls. How do we construct a survival guide, a poem for our daughters' bodies without throwing up our breakfast? How do our mothers' bodies not implode after telling our sons to comply, to not speak, to keep their heads down, to allow their bodies to be dragged by racist police? Jim Crow ain't never flown with this much wingspan. Eagles running for safety now, but the reach is deep in southern and midwest. Shadows in the east, lands in the west. Texas, you will always be Mexico in denial. Poet Ron Allen asked for his body back in 1996, and we are still waiting. We want our bodies back. We want our bodies back. We want our bodies back. We want them returned to mothers, without blood, without brains exposed, without humiliation, without bruises, without glass, without fire. We want our bodies back. We want our cities back. We want our culture back. We want our land back. We want our streets back. We want our freedom. We want our justice. We want our bodies back. We want our bodies back. We want them wrapped in white silk. We want them paraded around the White House. We want these flags you stand up for at baseball games and half-mast. We want national holidays to honor our bodies, our knees, our prayers, our ears, our genitals, our eyes, our fingers, our feet. We want 21 gun salutes when we enter a room. We want our bodies back. We want them anointed in oils. We want them worn around your neck. We want them remembered. We want them worshiped on Sunday. We want our magic you try to bottle. We want our essence you attempt to steal. We want our elegance, our sex, our walk, our cool, our recipes, our intelligence, our science, our stars, our history. I want my Moroccan nose. I want my holy water press. I want my Messiah legs. I want my alien arms. I want my Ivory Coast mouth. I want our breath back. I want our time back. I want your foot off our girls' backs. I want all your badges back. I want you to evaporate into dust like swatted moths. Don't cut me down from the noose. Let my legs dangle for the devil. What a spectacular magic show. Why you turn the cameras off? Why you turn the cameras off? This is a simple ballet. You got front row. This is your venue. This cell, this hole is no one's home. Is no place for a woman to die. You probably never heard of Judith Jameson, Catherine Dunham, Oh, we know how to get our legs in the air. We know how to elevate, use our bodies to tell a story of middle passage, of survivals, of lynchings. You have always left our bodies under your control. Don't you touch me. Don't you take me down. Don't touch my body. Don't touch my music. Don't touch my patience. Don't touch my car door. Don't come near my window. Don't talk to me in that tone. This body of work got work to do. I'm resurrecting my body in new forms daily. Watch for me in your deepest sleep. Black is the color of my true love's hair. Listen for my songs, watch for my walk, listen for my voice, my black girl attitude. Watch my body resist your death traps, watch me rise, watch my rebirth. Watch us rise up from this new Jim Crow, from these new unspoken apartheid laws. We want our bodies back, we want our bodies back. We will take them, protect them, remember them, remember you. Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, we will never forget your brown body. Your mind, your pride, your spirit, your love, your vow to do God's work. We want your drive from Illinois to Waller County back. We want all our daughters back, and we want them back now.
Whew. That was Our Bodies Back by Jessica Care Moore and Jonesy D. Jessica, welcome, welcome, welcome to Fire This Time. It's really great to have you here.
Really wonderful to be here. I every time I watch it, I have a different feeling. The women are spectacular. They were on three different countries, doing that. They weren't all in the same place. I think some of them was in Germany, one was in London, another in the UK, and maybe one other place. I think Hamburg. Yeah, they
And this was this is filmed over the
in
course of
Europe. I don't know. Jonesy asked me to do it, and it took about a month. I
wow.
mean, not editing, but as far as like the choreograph, I think it's about a month time, something like that, and maybe 6 weeks altogether. We did it.
Did you write the piece for Jonesy?
Of course, no, yeah. So this is it. Our Bodies Back is the poem, the title poem from "It's We Want Our Bodies Back" for Sandra Bland. That's the title of my fifth book. So I knew he wanted to do something. He knew I write and choreo poem, and he knew that, and he wanted to do one of my pieces and to create a choreo poem film. And I said, this has to be the one because of all the pieces, especially with because talking about dancers. I said a dream of mine was to turn "We Want Our Bodies Back" into. I take lots of my poetry and turn it into interdisciplinary work. Get it out of the book and put it into people's minds and bodies and stages and use music and theater to get it into bigger spaces. And so that I was like, I don't know a better poem out the book than "We Want Our Bodies Back" to turn into a film where dancers get to embody that actual work about police brutality, about our bodies being in police custody, and us wanting our children back that are
Right.
taken from us. Yeah.
I think us wanting the right to define the shape of ourselves, the way we move through the world,
Right.
and being able to sort of reclaim that from everything that white supremacy and capitalism, patriarchy sort of layers on us.
Yeah.
I think the poem and the collaboration really do a beautiful job of uplifting that idea.
Yeah, it's about taking our humanity back. We know we're human, but everyone else seems to like have a little, little brain fire when it comes to like our humanity. Like we're clear that we're like fully developed human beings, with emotions.
It's brand new news for them.
It's not new news for us. We're clear that we're spiritual people, and that we deserve to have ownership over our dominion as our bodies are. Like this is, I own my body. But in this place, when you're Black, in this country, in 2021, like then that's what's so deep. We can talking about like, James Baldwin, and like you look at James Baldwin, you read his books, or you look at how it just his talks, his interviews, and what he endured. These white folks asking him stupid questions, about us being human in the 60s, before I was born. And to
Mhm.
think that here I am, this man before I was born, fighting for this place to be better so that my life could be better. And in 2021, here I am, an adult with a 14-year-old son, who is in a 26-year-old Earth son, Omari and King, who and lots of sons other than that, right? And children, students and things and mentees and whatever, and trying to convince them that this place, that they're human still, like we're still having to have the same conversation.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, there's nothing what has changed.
It's funny, that actually brings to mind, there's a 1961 interview with Baldwin and Studs Terkel,
Mm.
and they're talking about Baldwin leaving the US and going to Switzerland so that he could reconnect with his actual voice,
Mm.
get away from the place,
Okay.
and hear himself again and love his actual voice again, and how the music of Bessie Smith kind of pulls him through, and how he's like, that's who he was listening to the entire time, right? He's writing Nobody Knows My Name.
Wow.
But as you mentioned, your son and all the young men, young people in your village, in your community, I'm thinking about this particular comment that he makes to Terkel. He says, all you're ever told in this country about being Black is that it is a terrible, terrible thing to be. Now, in order to survive this, you have to really dig down into yourself and recreate yourself.
Right.
Really, according to no image which yet exists in America. You have to impose, in fact, this may sound very strange, you have to decide who you are and force the world to deal with you, not with an idea of you.
That's right. Ooh, yeah, come on. So,
Right?
yeah, and I mean, and that's how I've been living my life, like Baldwin, that's what I mean. He's why he is to me the consequential, like the American scholar that never was awarded when he was alive, right? Never received the awards and accolades that he deserved, but the greatest thinker, I think, of our century,
He's the
and it's deep because you like to talk about overseas, like pushing out the noise of this place. I just wrote a poem called "Push Out the Noise." About I actually wrote it for Common. For he has a project, Beautiful Revolution too, that I've written something for, and it's really about like having to, as an artist, like, push out all of that bullshit that they say about us and all the, and you have to sometimes just so you can be sane, and not forget who you are, right? And my 14-year-old, he's really Gandhi, like if I'm Malcolm, he's Gandhi, so and I'm so rowdy that it's, I think, made him like a monk of some sort, and but he's been reading, I put Baldwin in his hands and his energy. He knows who James Baldwin is since a very young child. And so but it's deep what you say about Europe, because I did my first European tour in 1996 with Paul Beatty. And I remember, like, I didn't know how European artists would take me. And it's a very different experience, Europe, than it is in America. And I remember being in Germany after the Berlin International Poetry Festival. So they had poets from all over the world. Like Derek Walcott was on a gig with me, right? So he's a monumental writer. And I was just a baby, in my opinion, just a baby. And it was maybe like 2001. It was a long time ago now, and I had been to Germany before, but this is like the Berlin Poetry Festival. You would have thought that Prince was there, and all the poets for Indonesia, from Amsterdam, they took all of our work and translated it into different languages, and people were reading along. This is the Germans, right? Everyone's reading along. It's very organized, and they're reading along. And yeah, and it's people have come out in the droves for literature, which is pretty interesting. No music, just poets with this white stage. I'll never forget it. But this white German man came up to me and grabbed my arm after my reading, and he's huge. He grabbed my arm, and I just looked at him, and he said, it's a shame they don't appreciate you in your own country. And it's like I just looked at him and I said, yeah, how about that? And I like he just knew there's no way in hell that Black girl that talks like that and writes poems like that, there's no way they're celebrating her. But in Germany, my poems and my name was all over billboards and in the trains and all that, and that's the difference. Here you gotta, people are still like, oh, have you blown up yet? And I was like, well, I was famous in the 90s. Like, was that enough for you? What do I have to do to be successful in this country? But when you're Black, you have to be like a billionaire. You have to have sold yourself to something. But when you're independent and you own yourself and you run your own Black companies and institutions, that doesn't always get the award, and yeah.
It becomes the default. They're like, oh, look at you, you're a Black woman. Of course you're running your things and organizing your stuff. You don't need the accolades. You don't need the attention. You don't Congratulations.
Hmm.
You're
I
an
don't. I just want the check at this point. I just want the check. I'm grown now. Like I used to think about awards and things, and I have won some. But I remember every time I get worried about some stupid award, I call Sonia Sanchez, and she was the one that reminded me about James Baldwin, and he's always who I think about. She said, "Well, you think about Jimmy Baldwin. What award did he get?"
never even a thing that crossed his mind, I bet. I don't think that that's what it was important for him. Jessica, I think that it's perhaps it's really difficult for folks to understand it. You've been doing this since, I want to say 1997, but I am assuming before I first saw you on a stage.
Yeah, no, so I moved to New York in 1995. I was reading poems in Detroit. I was just young, 93, 94. Just, it wasn't well known. New York, 95. And the Apollo, I did the Apollo. I had been living in New York all of 5 months, and I won the Apollo. It was the last month of 1995 into 1996 is when it actually aired. And that's when my life changed pretty much. Yeah.
I,
After the
I,
Showtime at the Apollo wins.
I think the first time that I saw you on stage was in 1997.
Where
And
was it?
I had to be real honest, I was a different kind of a girl than I am now. So you come in to literally any space that you're in with so much powerful forward motion and so
Mm.
much self-determination. And in 1997, I was so astonished to be encountering a young Black woman who could move into spaces like I remember being just so thrown by you and so like whoa, this
Where
is
was I? Do you remember, Lynn? Where was it?
I would have seen you probably once at the New Eureka, but a couple times at Brooklyn Moon.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and here's the thing, like those spaces are also super gendered spaces. They were
Very.
beautiful, they are beautiful in their own way still. But they're gendered spaces, right? They're spaces where men were very much, and the men that were moving in those spaces were extraordinary. They're very gifted.
I
Um,
know all of them. They're all my friends.
they were all
Yeah, I had. That's why I came in with this heavy voice. I used, this deep voice that I was so interesting because I was nervous probably when you were seeing me. I was just acting that way because as a woman in the male-dominated poetry scene, I couldn't come to the mic timid, and I'm from Detroit, so I was an edgy girl in Brooklyn. Like I was like Brooklyn wasn't so tough to me. I was like, Detroit is a tough city, man. So I came in and I was like, oh, this is a really nice artsy place. I wasn't living in Brownsville. I was like, I was in Fort Greene. It was so artsy then. And
that was when to live in Fort Greene.
yeah, I don't even know what it is now. Like skateboarders and stuff now. But when I was there, it was kind of going through gentrification. So it was like it was kind of hood. But Detroit is it's a beautiful place, but it's like it's a hood. Detroit is just a edgy place to be from. It raised me right. It sharpened my iron. But it was very male dominated. You think it's just hip hop, but the poetry scene was a lot of dudes, and I wasn't scared of none of them dudes, man. I was like, whatever.
And it's extraordinary to watch you move through spaces as a result, because you
Yeah.
commanded space, like you commanded space in rooms and on stages in ways that, like, there were phenomenal women doing great work back then.
Yes.
You stood out for me because your energy, I
Mm.
want to say competed, but it didn't. It challenged the men's energy.
Oh yeah.
And I
Yeah.
gotta be honest with you, it taught me a lot about both professionally. I had a whole other, career aside from poetry, but
Yeah.
both professionally and in the poetry world, it
Mm.
taught me a lot about how I wanted to walk into spaces and how I wanted
Mm.
to require of people that they interact with me, which
Ooh.
kind of brings me back to
Mm.
I'm super curious about Detroit and its impact. It's how it's shaped your musical experience, your
Oh wow.
lyrical experience, your poetry.
I mean, Detroit. So you're talking about commanding that space. So that's the spirit of this man named Tom Moore, my daddy who raised me. And so I was raised by a very strong patriarchal daddy, and I have 5 brothers. And so that's why dudes don't scare me, because I grew up being protected by these big head boys, 2 of which, Mark and Johnny, were older brothers that I grew up with in the house. And then my brothers Bill, Ed, and William were down south. But I grew up with my other brother Billy. My father was 22 years older than my mother. And so and very southern and very Cadillac and very loud. And my mother was Canadian and quiet. And so I had a strong Black male figure in my life, my whole life. And so I was never afraid of Black men. especially that I looked at black men as my brothers. They never were who I was afraid of, and they didn't damage me when I was younger. Like they protected me. So I grew up with brothers and a father that were my place that I go if somebody's messing with me, which is the way it's supposed to be. Um, and so because I grew up with a very healthy relationship with my father, he's on the cover of my book. And I grew up in a place called Detroit, which is like still, and I got into an argument with my brother Yassine very recently because, he wants to claim Brooklyn has the bigger population. I was like, but we are still the most concentrated black city
Yep.
in the country. We have the biggest, we're still 85 to 90% black here, despite rapid gentrification. And I grew up with a mayor named Coleman A. Young. And if anyone knows anything about Detroit history, like he was the blackest mayor you're gonna ever have in your whole life. And that's literally, he was a mayor for 20 years. He was
Wow.
the mayor my whole life before I moved to New York City. There was like Archer after him. Still a black mayor though, right? We have a white mayor now. We hadn't had a white mayor in forever. And so Coleman A. Young desegregated the fire departments, the police departments. When he was in office, you had to live in the city to be a cop in our city.
Yep.
Things that we need to bring back, right? But even now, we have a black police chief, we have black teachers, we have black city councils. Black folks own things in Detroit, and like when people try to ask me questions like, "Black people owning things," I'm like, "Black, I own my house." You know what I'm saying? I live in a black neighborhood, Boston Edison, historically black neighborhood. White folks live here too, but black folks are still here. It's still a predominantly black neighborhood. Shout out to Hill Harper, got a house up the street.
Oh,
We love
wow.
you, Harper. Yeah, he's here. And so, and we have black hair salons and car washes and art galleries that are owned by black people here, right? Small galleries, big and Charles. For years, we were the biggest museum of African American history before the Smithsonian in DC kind of kicked our butt. So now with a second, and rightfully so, it's all good. But so becoming from that space, when I moved to New York, I couldn't believe how many white police I saw. I was like, what are all these white folks doing in Harlem? All these white cops and these white cops on Flatbush. And I had never seen that many white police in black and brown neighborhoods. And
Coming from the Caribbean, it was a shock.
what I mean, yeah. And so black Detroit, like Jamaica. Like when I go places with all black people, it reminds me of being home. Like when I was in Ghana, I was like, okay, I'm home. I'm in Jamaica, okay, I'm home. Because it's black folks, you see black folks. We're not on the money here. We should create some black Detroit money though. We should do that. That would be dope. But but I think that self-determination. Because I moved to New York when I didn't know anybody except my cousin Alexis, who's from Detroit, who was younger than me, who just graduated from NYU. So I had to make friends quickly. And shout out to people who I made friends with quickly, like Willie Perdomo, Asha Pandeli,
Oh,
Kevin Powell, these folks that, we just lost Mums the Schemer, who was on my New York and Slam team, Saul Williams, Bosia, Lisa Jesse Peterson, Brad Warren, Sharif Simmons, like this, who was my first interview. So I found married a couple guys there, married one guy there, and divorced all of them. But but I ran into what I call the Roaring '90s. Like this really a magnificent time where you had artists that had their finger on the pulse of what was happening in the world, and that's what the kind of artist that I still am to this day. Like all of my books, like God is Not an American. Sunlight Through Bullet Holes, like all the, I'm a child of James Baldwin. All of us are Baldwin babies, right? We're Harlem Renaissance babies. We're Black Arts Movement children. A lot of us were born in the 70s. Some were born in the 60s. The ones that were kind of a little bit older than me were born in like the late 60s. And all of us, if you haven't quoted Baldwin once in a poem, like all of us have, but more on an energy level, like he has pushed us, into self-determination and understanding that like white supremacy, like, because we're talking, everyone now in 21, all these white folks trying to learn about white supremacy. And like James Baldwin, if you would have just looked at his James Baldwin speeches, right, from the city, you would have learned about white supremacy and institutionalized racism 30, 40 years. Like, what you been doing? You ain't been doing no work. And because the education system here is so inadequate and mediocre, that I go to college kids, teach do residency work, and they never heard of James Baldwin because they're not teaching James Baldwin. If we were teaching James Baldwin, which my son was learning James Baldwin in junior high, you could learn James Baldwin. He should be required reading in high school, not college.
I'm saying that he's not. It's actually astonishing that he's not.
They're not, well, they don't teach culture in schools. So when I teach, like I just did a residency at Grinnell College for 3 weeks, and that's supposed to be a poetry creative writing class, Lynn, but I'm not teaching poetry. And I did a interview with Dr. Brenda Green, right, who runs the Black Writers Conference, shout out to Brenda Green, Medgar Evers College. And she's asked, like, so Jessica, what were you teaching? I said, well, I was supposed to be teaching poetry, I guess. We were writing poems, but I was teaching culture. Because they don't know who Linton Kwesi Johnson is, and they don't know who Muda Baruka is, and they don't know who Gil Scott Heron or James Baldwin. And so if they don't know who these people are, don't know about the work that they've done, don't know how they contributed, don't know why that's the reason why I live and breathe and can even exist as a poet, a Black poet today in 21, is because of all of them. Then how can I teach them I am a pentameter and how to write a haiku? Why does it even matter that they can do something like that? If they don't know anything, what are they gonna write about?
They don't know that they're entering into a conversation, like they're jumping in the middle of a conversation.
Right.
It's walking into a room and hearing the last two words and trying to make sense. And I think we do them a disservice. And it brings me back to what you were talking about, thinking about Germany and how Europeans and people, frankly, in just about every other country, value artists and value people who are moving culture forward.
Right.
And what are we missing that we aren't teaching Jessica Care more in school?
Yeah.
What are we missing that
you're missing America?
Yeah.
You're missing America. We are the ones who make this place sexy, creative, interesting. Like everything. I remember a Dutch brother in Rotterdam said, Jessica, what is American culture? I've heard of Kwanzaa, but what's American culture? And I was like, well, what's African American culture? That's what he was asking. What's African American culture? I was like, American culture. We created this place. We built it for free on our backs. It's indigenous people. It's built on the blood of genocide and our people being lynched. And us working for free to build the economy. I was like, but anything that you see that's cool, that's hip, that's in a commercial is stolen from our babies.
And
how we walk, right? How we walk, how we sing, how we write, how we breathe, how we, infatuated with how we even can exist and survive despite the needs that have been on our necks for such a long time.
We lean against things. Every single element of who we are shows up as something repackaged for capitalism.
Come on.
You're representative of American culture.
Right.
What is the work? What is the work that you feel like, oh God, you wish we were doing it right now?
Paying artists to make art, it's so funny because I'm Baldwin. I remember I had this interview. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. It's one of those random white anchors. And he's one of the better ones, but talking about like corporations needing, him not knowing everything about the corporation, but the corporation knowing nothing about him. And like during the pandemic, I had to shift because I lost all my gigs, right? So I'm a gig worker. All my money comes from shows. So I've been out of work, half working artist the whole pandemic, but I've been working nonstop because corporations want to find ways to feel like they're doing things. So they ask people like me to come and be on their panel. And so I'm supposed to help you do a one-on-one on how to be a human class. And I'm supposed to teach you how to be human. And I'm a Black mother, you know what I'm saying, surviving on poems, and I have to show you how to be a human, and then you don't want to pay me to show you how to be a human. Like there's a price for that. Like why should I be doing humanity workshops for free? Like that's a big load on my shoulders. I have to like do what your mama and daddy couldn't do.
That's that isn't in the general thread of what you do. But it is the work that people keep asking us poets to do. Is come in, teach us how to speak about ourselves, how to understand our feelings, how to understand the world, how to re-articulate the world so that we aren't offensive or traumatizing. It's a lot. It's a lot.
I know you know this quote that Baldwin has, all your buried corpses are beginning to speak. And he has this during one of the interviews, like all your buried corpses are beginning to speak. He has this, and I love when he said it, because I thought like, the buried corpses, like, the ones that you killed, like the blood that's on your hands that built this country that's never talked about. There's that. And it's also like, the children like me who were born, after the 60s. Like I was born in the 70s. I was born in the sleepy time. Like, so there were no riots happening when I was born. Some black folks that got their check or got their house or got their black middle class existence and had, the civil rights movement was gone. Black Panthers, they, killed them, killed Fred Hampton, right? Stokely Carmichael gone, right? Kwame Ture gone. So, when I'm a child, you're a child and you're born in this black city, Detroit, and you come into it, and your mom, your dad's a construction worker, your mom works at the phone company, and you're like, okay, what is this thing, called resistance? And I didn't grow up where I had to like be on the front line of anything, but in my spirit, in my energy, in the water of Detroit, I felt like that energy was still there. And and so yes, the people that are speaking are not just like, for me, because I'm speaking for Sandra Bland. She's an ancestor. She's a new ancestor, right? Not Sandra Bland was just 28 years old. And here she is, an ancestor for us, killed in police custody, pulled over for a traffic stop and dead, and when does that happen? When does it happen when two girls are in Ohio having a fight and I'm having to fight online with my own people, trying to say, hey, well, she was about to stab another girl. Yeah, that's in high schools all over the country. Do you know how many school teachers and principals I know have gotten between some children that they love, right? Some children they love now and putting themselves in harm's way so that the two children would stop fighting. Because when you see two black girls fighting, you don't see two children fighting. You see animals. You don't see us as human.
You
That girl wouldn't have been dead. That girl not have been cut. If I was me and I got out and I was the cop, it would have been my body between them two girls.
exactly.
Or maybe I would have taken a slash from a damn kitchen knife.
That's the heroism, though. That's those are the people that you look at and you say, "Oh shoot, a hero." Here's this person who put their body in harm's way and said, "I'm wearing body armor. I think I can step in here.
Come on.
I have training. I can disarm. I can de-escalate. I can reduce harm."
Come on.
What we're asking them to do.
Well, that's my job. It's your job.
It's actually not hard. Teachers do it all the time.
They shouldn't have to, but they do.
Overall, all around me.
Nobody that loves black girls comes out with a gun in their hand shooting.
Thank you.
You just
No
don't
one
love black girls.
as human beings, as people's babies, stepped out of the car with the gun drawn. They don't.
And this is where we are, in 21. This is where we are. And just looking at the brother, Dante Wright, like he looks just like my son, but older. I said, there's my baby in 5 years. I'm terrified. We live in this constant state of trauma in this country, being black and existing, even when traveling on planes or when driving a car, no matter what. And I do feel some different sense of safety being in Detroit, being in a black city.
Yeah.
So I must admit, so when I drive outside the suburbs, that's the only time I really worry about policing, to be honest. In the city, I don't so much. Not in Detroit. I've been pulled over by people I know. I've been pulled over by people I went to high school with.
And that's a different kind of energy. That's a different interaction.
It's a completely different interaction. And even I've gotten a ticket and nobody's ever like told me to get out the car. I've never been asked to get out the car. You know what I mean?
That's been fun.
Yeah, this is and this is the beauty of being in a black space, but I don't live in my bubble. and I can only protect my son as much as I can, but the taller he gets and the wiser he gets, and he's asking about driver's license, I'm scared, I worry for him. So
you have to worry. I worry for all of them. For all of them.
And he's smart. You can't tell your smart black son that you've raised to be articulate and brilliant, and he knows people like James Baldwin. He knows he knew Amiri Baraka. He knows Abiodun Oyewole from the Last Poets. Like, those are his babas, and he's gonna be like, well, I know my rights. He's one of them kind of kids. And I was like, but they don't like smart black boys. They shoot smart black boys all the time.
Extra smart if you're a smart black boy.
Yeah.
You better hide that on top of everything else.
Yeah, but he won't.
No.
And so, he doesn't even know how to, you know what I mean? And we shouldn't have to teach our kids to put our heads down and all these things, man. Like, we're not slaves anymore. I mean, I refuse to walk around and have my son act like a slave. I'm not raising slaves. We're raising free black children. And it's 2021. We built this place. It's ours. It's ours. It's ours. It's ours. I want to show you. I know it's really crazy to show you this, but I want to show you Ernie Panic. I mean, movie might come, but Jane, I want to show you this James Baldwin photo that's on my wall, and
Oh,
that's the work of it's a birthday gift from Ernie Panicoli. So that's an original
wow.
limited edition print by Ernie, who's like a huge indigenous photographer. So Jimmy is in my home, and that's Gil Scott Heron behind me, and Asada Shakur who's looking at us. That's a Sabrina Nelson
Like
painting
you picked
and Alfonso Cox. So that's the house my son coming up in. So he's gonna
fire.
be good trouble.
Well, Jessica Caramore, Black woman, Black mother, Black entrepreneur, Black activist, Black artist, Black Renaissance woman. Um, tell me about it, what it looks like for you, if there is a future about which you can be optimistic. I've been guided in thinking about this series and thinking about this lens of Baldwin saying to Hall, I think in the 70s, that while he was not optimistic about this civilization, he was optimistic about the one that would follow it. Are we there yet?
No, not yet, but I am still optimistic because like him, I'm alive, right? So you're breathing and we're here. And look, I've lost many people during this pandemic. Like we're losing people in the hip hop community, right? We've lost, DMX, we've lost some really Shock G just died. I mean, it's crazy. Mom's a schemer. People who are young, young.
I don't
And
think I'm gonna recover from mums anytime soon. I cannot wrap my head around that one.
yeah, I mean, I had did a reading for Miguel Alderine for New York and Poets Cafe, and I said his name and almost just cried. And so Craig was a dear friend of mine, and it just doesn't even seem real. And I lost a lot of friends during the pandemic, close family friends, my family's friends, family members have passed, and so we're still here, despite being I mean, then an assault on living has happened, right, in this country in a way that we haven't ever experienced. And am I still hopeful? I have to be. My son is here, like so. King gives me hope. He wants to act, and he plays piano and makes music, and so he lives in an artist. He's got art inside of his head, and that's what's saving him. It's from this place that's how horrible must it be to have to be online and sitting on these things. It's hard for me. Like this is my whole life is looking at a green dot on my MacBook Pro. I want Apple to send me a free computer. As much time I spend on this dang on Apple, on this iPhone. They need to just be
Truly.
Apple should like be sponsoring all the artists I know, like sending us new computers. Give me a bigger screen for God's sake. I mean, I'm exhausted from this, so I can only so but it was hard. Like, when George Floyd happened, and I guess for all the folks that didn't know that Black people got killed by police all the time,
What,
this was a big traumatic
what
experience
was
for this
the
country.
surprise?
Yeah, but I must say that I was like clapping for them little young white millennials on them streets. Like the protests were very multicultural. There was
Yeah, there
a
were.
lot of Black, white, indigenous, Asian. I saw all of us out there. And so I was like, go babies, because I've done so many of them. I didn't feel no way about it. I was like, it is COVID and we in Detroit and folks are dying here on the weekly dying here. People I knew were dying weekly. I was finding somebody died almost every day. And at one point, it was like somebody different was dying. Facebook was just an obituary.
Facebook
And
really was terrible at one point. Like every day, I was afraid of whose parents were going to pass, whose aunts and uncles.
yeah. And I lost people who were young, people, my friends who were like in their 40s, they weren't old, they were young, they had children. And so, yeah, I mean, it's but hopeful when I see Minneapolis, it's one step. My brother Keith Ellison, I want to shout out my Detroit brother Keith Ellison. I went to school with Eric Ellison, his younger brother at Michigan State
Oh,
University.
wow.
When I saw Keith Ellison, my brother from Detroit was the attorney general. I was like, he gonna hire the right team. We're gonna get this done. So I was pretty confident, to be honest. As soon as I saw that Keith was in charge of things on that end, like forming that team, I was like, oh, it's going down. And so that gave me some hope, but there's so many, cameras that are not on. It's Adam Toledo. I mean, that Adam Toledo case is just my heart. I screamed. I literally had a visceral experience when I saw Adam Toledo get this. He looked like my baby too. I was like, there go another one, just like a little skinny. He don't even look 13. He look like he's 11. Looks like a little skinny thing. with
baby.
his hands up.
Yep.
My
His
heart.
hands.
My heart. And
It,
I don't play them Jim Crow games. Listen, Mexican boys, black boys, brown boys, they all are children.
they're
They
all
all are babies. They all of African descent. They all African indigenous. They all niggas to them. So that's all that matter. And they don't get treated no different. They just immigrant niggas or slave niggas or however they want to look at us, right?
whatever.
Whatever. Those are babies. So, so I'm writing for Adam Toledo. I'm writing for Dante Wright. Like I'm writing for them. I have projects coming out. Actually, the rock album I have coming out is called The Fire This Time. So it's me and my music partner, Stephanie Christian, who's an amazing rock singer who does Black woman rock. If anyone's seen Black woman rock, Stephanie is a force to reckon with. And so we're doing a rock. I've been wanting to do a rock and roll album for a long time. And so The Fire This Time is the name of the project. And we have some really great guests that are going to be on that record. And it's a poetry, punk, Black rock kind of
That sounds fantastic.
project.
I feel like it wouldn't be entirely daring of me to say that that's something that should be on stage at National Sawdust if we ever open to live audiences ever again.
You will. I think it's coming. I think 2022.
New York's working real hard on getting everybody vaccinated and that kind of thing. So
yeah, but the vaccinations are not enough though. I mean, but you still have to I guess it would deter it. People getting it, I hope. I know people who've been fully vaccinated and still have gotten.
You're still gonna get sick.
COVID. Yeah. Still gotten COVID. Yeah.
The darker strains of it, the more challenging strains of it, all that vaccination means is that you might not get it as bad. That's it.
Yeah, you fight it off. That's what vaccinations are for. But people, I think, have this false idea that it's going to make it go, like you're not going to get it. I'm like, no, baby, you still got to cover. I'm very vigilant about the mask and all that, and I've had to travel a few times. But I hope we can. I would love to be a National Sawdust again. I was there with Alicia Hall Moran, and me and my son were both in the show with Alicia Hall Moran. But I've never been presented at National Sawdust on my own.
Wow, so that's something that we're gonna have to fix. I have a quick request. There's a clip that I wanted to play, but I would love it if you would set it up for us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about it.
Where the People is a poetry film. It's a poem out of my book, We Want Our Bodies Back. And I wrote it about the neighborhood that's Wayne State University that was when I grew up, the Cass Corridor. And it's about gentrification. It's about global colonization and the renaming of neighborhoods. And me and my son had gone to get a pizza. And it had pepperoni on it, and we don't eat pepperoni. So we literally drove up and down Cass. And I asked him, he's 14. I said, do you remember us getting that pizza? We drove all over there. We're trying to find a person to feed. Then 5-6 years ago, maybe, it's so easy to find a person to feed. And so we just ended up throwing the pizza away, or okay, I guess we have no one to give this pizza to, forget it. And I wrote this poem, Where Are the People, is about that. It's like, where are the people? Where did they put them? And so it's me just questioning. Yeah, and so that's what it is. It's shot by my incredible nephew, Donovan Glover. He's a cinematographer. Here's my son, Billy Morris Child, and directed by my friend Booker Snow. And so it's just a little small crew. And I've been doing some guerrilla filmmaking, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm working on my first feature, actually. Well, it's going to be done. I finished the script and I have a director, and we're going to be shooting it pretty soon. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. But this is just a short film. I don't know if we're showing a piece of it.
I want to definitely see a piece of this, and then I want to talk a little bit more about what's next for you. So this is Where Are the People?
This poem is for Kwame Beard. Rest in peace, King of Cass Corridor. Where are the people? Where are the one-way tickets? Who signed the death certificates? Where are the magicians, the madmen, the toothless, the smoothest, the poets? The corner store prophets, the bus stop historians, the traffic stoppers. Where are the people? Where are the blues? Under which pile of gravel? Where are they buried? Hurricane Cass Corridor. Where is the soil, the soul, the socks, the shoes? Where is the heroin? Where are the pills? Where are the women? Where are the thrills? Where is Cass Corridor? My student asks, is it a building? Is it this way? Is it that way? Your school is sitting in it. I answer, you is it? The dogs are walking the people. The dogs are walking the people. The dogs have parks. The parks don't have children. Where are the people? Where are the people that stepped over the forgotten Holocaust? The fragile, the beautiful, the fast talkers, the backward walkers, the 3 a.m. stalkers. Where did they take them? When will they return? Where is the balance? Where is the money? Where are the schools? Where are the people? Where are the people? We all got Wi-Fi. Nobody getting high outside. Where are the beds? Where is they heads? Where are the recognizable street signs? Where is Joe Louis? Where are the black people? My white neighbor asked me, Jessica, where are the black people? Where are the chosen people? Where are our hearts, our guitars? Where are our bass players? Kenny Mack, Anthony Tolson, rest in peace. Where are the anointed, the children of God? Where is the sage, the holy water? Where is the black imagination located? How much does it cost per square feet to rent there? Is there a rent to own your black imagination option? Where are the couples fighting in the alleys? Where are the purple flavor Mad Dog 2020 labels? Where are the needles? Where is the good time? Where did all these goddamn bike lanes come from?
Yeah, where are the people? Where are the people? Where did they
That
go?
was There
Where
Are
did they
People
go?
by
Where did they
More.
go?
Thank you.
That was beautiful, Jessica.
Thank you. That would shout out to Trey Simon, who's playing guitar, a Detroit artist and vocalist, has a gorgeous voice. And so that's a live recording we did at WDET, which is the PBS, the NPR affiliate here in Detroit. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Real quick, I want to say to the folks that are in the chat room, if you'd like to ask a question, please feel free to put it in the chat. I do have a question from Sabrina.
Sabrina Nelson.
Sabrina Nelson.
She's the painter who did the Asada Shakur, and she's walking in the video with me. She's one of my sisters here in Detroit. She's a wonderful muralist in the city, and she was actually in Paris with me. I did the James Baldwin conference many years ago, called "What Would James Baldwin Do?" I think "What Would James Baldwin Do" was the name of our panel. Myself, Imani Azuri. I'm gonna mess up all the names, but anyway, I'll remember before we're done. And it was amazing. And Sabrina did all these amazing sketches of James Baldwin that are just, and she's painted him often. And so, what's her question?
Sabrina asks, "What does revolution, rebellion, abolition mean today to you?" And she points out that, of course, she's in Detroit.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's about ownership and institution building. Like that's the key to it. Some of it got to get burnt down. Yeah, I believe in that. And I also believe like we have to actually own some of this land that we inherited, that we never got our 40 acres and a mule. So now we just got to go buy it. We got to go get some land. I also, believe in, revolution. Like I did revolution is not what those dum-dums did in DC, rushing the Capitol. It's not revolutionary. It's sometimes it's a quiet place, it's about Black women, community building among ourselves, because I don't think anything's going to change in this country or the world unless Black women do it. And so I think Black women, when we're in our power, I'm sorry.
I said, and unless things change for Black women.
For Black women, absolutely. Like, I think we are at the center of like, I think Baldwin said it, if nothing changes for Black people, for the Negro, as they said in the day, right, then nothing changes in America. But I'm going to say, if nothing changes for Black women in this country, then nothing changes in America. It starts and ends with us.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I agree. Jessica Moira Trachtenberg says, where are the people is so beautiful. What was your very first inspiration for it? Did it predate coronavirus crisis? Or
Yeah, it's in this book. So this book came out March of 2020. There was no pandemic. I was going on tour. It's in this book. It's because I grew up in Detroit, and when I moved back, after being gone in New York and Atlanta for 12 years, everyone was talking, the new brand was New Detroit. And I'm from old Detroit. So I was like, I didn't like this New Detroit idea, because I'm like, well, what are you trying to say about what was here? Because what was here built this place. And everything interesting about Detroit is old and Black. So My daddy is the most interesting thing in the city, and all my daddy's people. My daddy would have been 96 years old. So everyone from that generation, that's what made Detroit fresh. Them brothers, them
Mm.
working class people who came from up south people, migrated
About
to
it.
this
Talk
city
about
to build
working
it.
class art being what makes cities.
Working class art and working class people is what makes cities. I'm a blue collar poet. I came from a working class city. So, white folks, black people in Detroit is working class people. And so, and that's what where the people's about is like, that's what made the city great. Not like pushing everybody out, raising the rent. So the elderly, students, no one can afford to live downtown or
The
in the,
wealthy can afford to show up and they don't add value. They spend money, but that's not added cultural value.
and then most of them go back to the suburbs. They just started trying, their kids now want to live in the city because Detroit's cool now or whatever. But Detroit was cooler when it was even more black and even more black people in it. Because a lot of my black friends, because they killed and destroyed our school system, moved out to the suburbs where they can get free schools, better education, I guess. That's really relative to me, in my opinion.
More appropriate education often, not necessarily better.
Not necessarily better, because my son's in private school from preschool to 8th grade, and he's having the best experience in Detroit School of Art that he had in all his private schools. And it's free. And so shout out to public schools. Public schools can be better. They need to be resourced better. And all children deserve a private school level education for free in this country. It's the least they can do is give children, American children of all colors, a fighting chance to compete in the world. And they cannot because you're giving them a segregated education.
Yeah.
And and I'm not anti-segregation, and I'm not like a big integrationalist. And I understand what Baldwin and Kwame Ture was saying about integration, right? What it did to our community. But at the same time, if you're going to, because the schools are still segregated, like you're separated by class, first of all, because anyone who can afford to send their kids to private school they do, especially in Michigan. All my friends who can afford it, they pay for their kids to go to school. But I did that, and I had to deal with racist white teachers that wanted to destroy my son, that didn't like him because he was a free black child. And so he's at a school with a principal like me. Mama Maya, that's my sister. She's the principal at Detroit School of Art. So he's there because I trust the principal, not because I trust the system. I don't like the system. I don't like teaching broadly. I don't think broad swipes for children. Every child learns the same remote learning for every child. I think every child deserves to be taught as an individual, not as a group. So, and they're being taught at a very mediocre level, and very slowly. And that's why when they get to college, they're behind. I watch some of my students that I mentored in public schools. I knew they were graduating these kids, right? And Lynn is a teacher too. So they're graduating these kids. And I know that after the first year of college, they're going to drop out because they're going to be overwhelmed. They're not preparing them for college. They're not getting college prep. They're not getting ready for college. There's some of the work they were doing in juniors, my son could do in 7th and 8th grade. Yeah. It's not fair.
I think it's difficult because the mandate of education in this country is to prepare them for
testing.
I like to think of it as service to the machine.
Testing.
But the mandate of education must be, especially for this generation of young people who are so much more aware, has to be making them whole human beings.
Come on. Yeah. But the teachers aren't whole. This is the problem. We have teachers that aren't whole human beings.
Teachers are not allowed to be, right? They're not allowed to be whole human beings.
Because they have all these, like, you have to do this and this and this. You have to have two grades per week. And that's the thing that he's dealing with. So like he has 5 core classes and 3 in his major, which is music, because he's in an art school. Thank God there's an art school. And so that's 16 assignments a week during a pandemic. And I'm like, why? I'm like,
it's the assumption that they have more time.
They don't. They're just more time stuck in this. I'm trying to get my son to go outside. As soon as I get off with you, I'm pushing him into the backyard. Our babies everyone with a teenager during pandemic has the same complaint. Like they can't get their kid to come out of their room now.
They don't have any interest. Like I'm willing to cut some of my classes short so kids can go outside, and I joke about it and they look at me like, go outside? Why would I do that? I'm like, I love you guys, but I'm out. Like I'm leaving class early to go outside.
Yeah, I'm out. Y'all can stay here, but I'm leaving. But the education problem is the problem of this country. Like it's on purpose. It's so that they create cattle culture, that they create workforce, right? They want people who
Mhm.
want to have minimum wage jobs, keeps the rich rich and the poor poor or working class, and keeps us at a lower level. And so that's the fight. Like education, and I say, respect to teachers. I do residency work and I'm an educator, but I don't do it full time. And so that's a hard lift. But we need people like you in those spaces that love our children. And you can I just think people who don't love our children need to get away from our kids, get out away from our kids,
If
leave.
you're not excited about them, then let somebody who is really do that job, because it's
Yeah.
you excited about them. Kids are they're so tuned into the authentic that if you are inauthentic, they're
Yeah.
just gonna come around, and it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one last question before we flip out to this really cool
Okay.
cocktail video that we've got
It's
to
too fast. It's going too fast. I'm sorry.
way too fast. I want more of you.
Yeah.
Um, I'm super curious. I feel kind of honored to be in a position to ask this question,
Hmm.
because I don't think we ask particularly Black women artists this enough. What do you want for your art? Like, what do you in the dream world where the funders show up and the
Hmm.
I don't know, the producers show up and everybody shows up? What do you want for Jessica Caremore's art?
I wanted to touch every Black brown girl in the world. I wanted to be unstoppable. I'm working on my first feature film. I'm not going to say the name of the director, but I have a wonderful director that has signed up, who read the script, who's coming on to direct the film. And now we have to raise. It's an independent film, so we're going to raise at least $100,000, and I plan on doing it in the next couple of months. So, y'all get ready. I'm gonna ask y'all for some money, but I'm hoping to find a producer. I don't want to have to go chasing money. I want to be able to just get a production house to get behind it. It's a film that's a self-love story about a Black girl artist. So I want to see my work in spaces where I see white people. Like, white people can have coming of age stories. So I want to write coming of age stories with Black girls at center. And so I've decided to stop being afraid and to become a screenwriter. And so that is the next phase for me, because I need to get on some larger screens and I need to get inside more homes. And so that's my dream, for my work to not have boundaries, and to touch women and girls globally. Yeah. And then make a thousand gabillion more of us. I mean, that's where Amanda came from. Where you think Amanda Gorman? She didn't come out of no cloud. She didn't float down from the heavens. They
It,
killed me acting like Amanda floated down from the heavens. I'm like, I listened to that girl. I said, okay, there I go. I mean, there go Ursula Rucker, Mahogany O'Brown, there go Stacey Ann Chen, there go Lizzie Jesse Peter, there go Asha Bandeli, there go Nikki Feeney, there go Lucia Clifton, there go Sonia Sanchez. Amanda knows she didn't come from nobody. But white folks love to do that. They love to take one of us and act like that's like this is a strange alien child. It's a whole bunch of Black girls that write badass poems and who are millennials. They exist, right? They exist. And so that's what I want to see, where it's not just this thing that they make a spectacle of us, right? Instead of saying we are in the tradition of, we are children of the Black arts movement. We are carrying on the legacy of, right, Amiri Baraka and Gil Scott Heron, right, and Jane Cortez,
Maya Angelou, and
so
and
come
all
on, Nikki Giovanni. Like, I want to, shout out my sister Honore Jeffers, who's brought up who did the Age of Phyllis, who was resurrected. Come on, went and got Phyllis Wheatley away from them white folks lying about her and her husband, and told the truth about Phyllis Wheatley. Listen, that same way Alice came for Zora. Like, this is what we have to do. So, there's Toni Morrison's out there. There's great screenwriters and women. I want to see more Black women directing, writing, creating, and owning our art, and through our lens, not a white lens, but through a Black woman's lens. And so that's what I want for my work.
Awesome. Thank you. If you are listening, she just needs a few $100,000 to fund that film.
So 2 people give me 50 grand and I'm going to make my movie.
Feel free for it. What's your Cash App? No kidding.
My Cash App is Black Women Rock.
I love you. Oh my God. Jessica Caremore, thank you. First of all, wait, any other questions? No, right?
We're going to make a drink. I'm drinking water.
Our house bartender, Chris Buckley of Hanson Dry and branch office here in Brooklyn, drops in every now and then to introduce us to some new ingredients and ways to decolonize from behind the bar.
Okay, mocktails.
Please. Oh yeah, and there are mocktails too. He makes sure, for those of you who don't drink, that there's a mocktail recipe right after the cocktail recipe.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that. But Jessica, one more time, I just want to say thank you so much, not just for tonight, but for the work you've been doing,
Thank
for the
you.
magnificent way that you show up.
Thank
Like, you're
you.
fantastic. And thank you
Because
very
I'm not by myself when I show up.
much.
Because we have ancestors with us all the time.
So
Come
true.
on.
Um,
Love you. Thank you. You have a beautiful spirit, and I hope to see you in real life again soon.
soon, I hope.
Yeah.
Really, really.
I'm coming to New York.
You should. And you let me
I'll
know.
tell you. I am coming. I'm coming. I'll be there this summer. I'm coming.
Everybody else on this is like, girls.
I'm not gonna tell everybody, but I am coming.
To the team at National Sawdust, I want to say thank you very much. You guys are amazing, amazing, amazing people.
Thank you.
And to the funders who support the program, thank you very much. And give it up now for Christopher Buckley from Hanson Dry.
Hi, my name is Christopher Buckley, and we're going to be making a cocktail tonight called the Hot Fuss. We use 10-to-1 rum, which is a rum that is a blended rum. It's a mix of Bajan, Dominican, and Jamaican rums with an expression of Trinidadian rum as well. And so we start with 2 ounces of this. Do 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lemon juice. Two hard dashes of Angostura bitters, which is also from Trinidad. And then 1 spoonful, which is about half an ounce, of a hot honey, which is honey that's infused with peppers. Just put that down in the bottom of the glass. Stir it around. You can use a tablespoon or a teaspoon, whatever you have at home. And then we add some ice to it. Put it in a shaker. Shake the heck out of it. Pour it back into the pint glass. Grab a strainer. And then we strain it into a coupe. We add 1 piece of lemon zest. Just push it over the top like that. And there we have Hot Fuss.
Hi there. We're gonna make a mocktail. We use Angostura bitters, 4 dashes. It's great. You can use it to cook with, use it for any reason at all. It's really wonderful. 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, or the fresh lemon juice, if you can. Otherwise, it's a little bitter. I use about half an ounce of simple syrup, which is just 1-to-1 sugar to water. A little, like right around like half an ounce of hot honey, which is honey that's infused with peppers. It's really awesome. You can do your own thing with it too. You know, if you want to cut up some fresh ginger, anything you want. And then about 4 ounces of iced tea, and I do a sun-brewed iced tea, so no heat because the heat brings the tannins very quickly. So just like put it in a bottle, leave it on the windowsill, come back to it half an hour later, it'll all be great. Use 3 bags. So we use about 4 ounces of this. Toss some ice in the glass. Just Just rock it back and forth, glass to glass. Just like that. Mostly just trying to get the honey to dissolve. Grab a rocks glass, whatever else you want. There you go. Look at that. Here we are. Orange peel, lemon peel. Just use a regular peeler. Just fold them over on the edges, like put your fingers on the edges, and then just kind of squeeze it like that. Right on top. And there we are. Not fussy. Have a great day.